Texas weather discussion video for Wednesday, the 5th day of September. I'm Donovan Neal. Our weather continues to remain unsettled here in North Texas. We have Tropical Storm Gordon that's still out in the deep south near Mississippi and Alabama, and we also have Hurricane Florence that's out in the central Atlantic in multiple waves that we need to watch near the African coast. So a lot of things to talk about here. Let's dive in here. As we always do, let's start with our upper air look across the nation this morning. Get a good synoptic scale look of things going on across the continental United States. We have our big upper trough that's located just to the west of us, with the main mid-latitude westerlies up to the north, with our upper high, in the mid-Atlantic states, and the tropical easterlies just to the east of us. Just to the east of us, and it's basically going to travel around the periphery of the western periphery of that upper high, but we'll show you that in a little bit. Take a look across the watch warning map. We have a couple of heat advisories, but they're less in number around New York State and some of the adjacent areas. And we have flash flood watches in effect for parts of the Corn Belt near the Great Lakes states, near Wisconsin and Illinois. And we also have some in the Central Plains near Kansas and Nebraska. And we also have the some flash flood watches and warnings in effect for the deep south in relation to Tropical Storm Gordon. That's basically covering much of central Mississippi, central Arkansas, and some parts of southeastern Alabama. But down here in Texas, we remain pretty quiet. And of course, with any landfalling tropical system, we'll deal with the threat for small isolated tornadoes from time to time, and that's what that marginal risk is for across parts of central Mississippi through parts of Alabama, even the extreme eastern Florida Panhandle. And on day 2, that marginal risk for severe storms is well off to our northeast. And day 3, most of the southern part of the country could see some ice, some thunderstorms, but no organized severe weather is expected. All right, so let's dive into the tropics. We have Tropical Storm Gordon, of course, Florence, and we have another wave just off of the African coast that the NHC gives a 40% chance of developing during the next 48 hours, but it also gives it a 90% chance of developing into a tropical storm during the next 5 days. And of course, if this becomes a named tropical storm, this name will be Helene. This next name will be Helene. So we'll continue to watch this over the coming days. But it's also noted that important that we have another wave that will emerge off the African coast later this week. The NHC gets a 20% chance of developing during the next 5 days. We'll have to watch this with time. But let's move on to Hurricane Florence at this point. No longer a tropical storm, but it's a Category 2 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 105 miles an hour. Of course, it'll be hard to get any recon or satellite imagery of this thing because this thing is basically in the middle of nowhere. It's expected to be a long track hurricane through the early parts of next week. But the question is, will this impact the United States East Coast or not? Well, the European ensemble is all over the place with this thing. I'd say a good 45 to 50% of the models bring it towards the continental United States, but the mean, which is the black line that you see, brings it close to the East Coast and then curves it out to sea, not impacting any land masses at all. And of course, the main answer is we don't know yet. If the times are too early to tell, it's too early to tell whether or not this will have any impacts in the United States at all. So we'll just have to watch and worry about this with time. But let's move on to Tropical Storm Gordon. That's basically moved on to the north. Basically, the circulation center mainly in Mississippi at this point. This is what it looks like on the radar as of 5:29 this morning. It's basically just to the southeast of Jackson, Mississippi. It'll basically continue traveling to the northwest. Maximum sustained winds are at 40 miles an hour. It's expected to weaken to a tropical depression later today. it's in movement. Of course, is to move to the northwest at 14 miles an hour, and this is the expected rainfall as a direct result for Tropical Storm Gordon. You can see most locations will get around 2 to 4 inches of rain, with heavier totals in the yellow around 4 to 6 inches, with of course heavier totals, localized heavier totals of 6 to 10 inches, mainly across northern Iowa and parts of extreme western Illinois. And I think we're at this point where whether if this circulation center wobbles to the east or to the east or west, the main impacts will still be the same. But but down here in North Texas, we really don't see much. We really don't see much rainfall as a direct result from Gordon. I think we should see any. I think we should see most rain from any tropical moisture that we can pick up. So let's go on to the model output. This is the 06Z run that the GFS filed this afternoon at 1 o'clock. You can see we had that 594 heat ring off to our east. Gordon will basically stay off to our east again, and down here although Gordon stays off to the east, we still have a lot of moisture to tap on. So we'll continue to mention the chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms. Again, highs will be in the low 90s, and again, I'd say the best chance of one spot getting wet this afternoon will be in the 30 to 40% bracket, since coverage won't be that high. We'll forecast a mix of sun and clouds today. This is Thursday. This is tomorrow. You can see moisture starts to increase with Gordon continuing to move off to the north. Continuing to move off to the north at this point. Again, scattered showers and thunderstorms will be likely during the day. Highs will be in the low 90s, and I'd say in the best chance of one spot getting wet, I'd say it's in the 50-50 range at this point. We'll continue to forecast a mix of sun and clouds again. And here's Friday. Now, Friday, I think Friday we'll have our best chances of scattered showers and thunderstorms during the day. Highs will be in the upper 80s to low 90s at this point. Of course, with more clouds than sun at that point. And for any football games that go on, the high school football games that go on Friday, I think I would pay very close attention to the radar in coming days to see whether or not the games need to be delayed or not. But here's Saturday as the weekend begins. Saturday, of course, more tropical moisture continues to affect. We'll continue to mention the chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms, 50-50 at this point. Highs will be in the upper 80s. And Sunday, that looks like the frontal system continues to move to the east, and I think a good chunk of the day will stay dry with highs in the upper 80s with a mix of sun and clouds. And of course, you can't always rule out a chance of isolated storm or two. Now here's Monday as next week begins. Monday of next week, of course, we'll mention of mix of sun and clouds. Highs will be in the low 90s. Same thing on Tuesday. And a week from today, Wednesday, the 12th of September, you can see we have that trough. We have a trough moving in from the northwest. Down here, we still stay dry. Notice Hurricane Florence out there, or just to the east of the East Coast. But if we go out 10 days, this is Friday the 14th. You can see heights are about where they should be for us in North Texas, and down here, you can notice how Hurricane Florence was near the eastern coast, but then it recurves out to sea. But bottom line is we don't know what this thing will do. It's still way too far out to tell. But here are the numbers for the next for coming off the GFS ensemble. If you're looking for a big cool down, if you're looking for like a very large cool down, then that doesn't look probable as we head into the mid-September, the climatological peak of hurricane season. Highs mostly stay in the upper 80s to low 90s. That's it for the Texas weather discussion video for today. All my notes in the blog. Next video here is expected to be posted at around 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. If you can, catch the local TV stations on the air this evening at 4, 5, 6, and 10. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and Godspeed.